One of my favorite gifts to give is a book that has meant so much to me over the years, The Jesus Calling Daily Devotional by Sarah Young. I've heard story after story of how the words of this little daily devotional, written as if Jesus is talking directly to you, have impacted lives. I know it has mine. When people ask where to start in drawing closer to the Lord, this is the book that I share. There's a brand new commemorative edition of Jesus Calling, and it's beautiful. It includes 12 new devotions that Sarah wrote before she passed away and personal letters that she wrote to her readers. It's published by our friends at HarperCollins, and you can order this special edition by clicking on the Got It From My Mama Amazon store link. Or you can go to faithgateway.com. There you can use the code MAMA3 and receive $3 off plus free shipping. Whether this is for a new believer or a long-time Christian, this is a wonderful gift to give. This one's for the Bachelor fans of Dancing with the Stars, and anyone who just loves to root for the good guy. Joey Graziadei is one of the most popular guys to ever be on ABC's The Bachelor series, and now he is dancing his way to the finals for the Mirrorball Trophy. His mom, Cathy, and I connected a while back, and recently she got to visit Nashville, where we went to lunch and also recorded this conversation. Cathy is a proud mom of 3 kids. In her 30s, she experienced the shocking news of being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and the unexpected ending of her marriage. Cathy shares her stories with grace and offers insight into the positive choice of co-parenting after divorce. Cathy, we are finally sitting down together. I'm so excited to get to talk to you.
I'm excited as well to meet you and spend time talking.
So we actually, just to give people a little bit of a background, we actually connected. I was looking back at some notes I had in January of this year, but you actually live in Mexico, so it wasn't super easy to get together and do a conversation. But you happen to be in Nashville, Tennessee, for a wedding, so that made everything extra special. We went to lunch this week, got to know each other even better. I would imagine that it is somewhat surreal to think that your little Joey has ended up being one of America's favorite ever reality TV stars.
Well, it's surreal because growing up, my 2 favorite shows were The Bachelor and Dancing with the Stars.
You were a Bachelor fan?
Oh, a huge Bachelor fan.
Oh, I had no
Myself
idea.
And my girls were big Bachelor fans, and I love Dancing with the Stars. And now my son has kind of become America's favorite.
Yeah, so at the end of The Bachelor, I mean, did you kind of think, okay, that was fun, that part's over, now let's go see what Joey does? Or was it also a complete surprise when he's like, Mom, Dancing with Stars now is going to cast me?
I wasn't surprised.
Really?
I mean, he was clearly America's sweetheart.
Yeah.
Joey Mania was real, was definitely real. And I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
He just turned 29.
Mm-hmm.
And he posted 30 things he wants to do before he turns 30.
You posted that publicly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And one of the things on that was learn to dance.
Oh, wow. Okay. Do you recall him ever, like, I don't know, even in a high school play or musical, was there anything that anytime you ever saw him dance and saw, like, that skill in him? Because it sure does look pretty natural.
It does look natural, and it's interesting because people think, oh, we didn't know he was a cheerleader. Well, he wasn't a cheerleader. He did powder puff cheerleading, which was during homecoming. Mm-hmm. He was, the girls played football, and Joey was part of a team of guys who did cheerleading, and he just happened to do the trick.
Right.
And he shared that with Jenna, and then Jenna's like, well, let's see what that trick is, and lo and behold, it became part of the show.
It's kind of neat how a lot of the things that he did growing up have kind of, I guess, carried over nicely to Dancing with the Stars. Even him playing the drums. You said that he had a couple of drum sets growing up, right?
He had a drum set. He was very good. And he had a coach who thought that he had natural talent. And he loved playing drums, and he was good.
They even incorporated it into, I think, a heavy metal night, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so fun. So let's go back and talk about Joey as a child. Okay, so people are enamored, America's sweetheart, the whole thing, but has he always just been this adorable, charming kid? Wait, That's a bad question. What mom would say no, not really, right?
Joey always had a presence. He was always had a group of friends. The friends loved him. The parents of the friends loved him. He was always the one that pulled together people. He was just very, I don't know, I think my husband would call him like electric. He always just had something about him
something
that,
like a magnetic quality almost that attracted people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Did he choose good friends? Like, was he just that kind of guy that surrounded himself with
Great friends.
good, positive people?
Great friends.
Yeah.
Good friends that he had. I mean, we remember grade school. He always had, well, at church, he was always the person who had people around him. So in high school, he had great friends in high school. He had great friends in college. And his teachers loved him. One of the things that's I think he takes great pride in, and I take great pride in, is all of the people who have seen him now on national TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the same guy we always knew.
I like that.
It's the same guy.
Yeah. Yeah, there certainly doesn't seem to be any aspect of, oh, that's gotten to his head or
No,
fame.
it's very humble.
I think he's genuinely like, what in the world?
Right.
Look at these doors that have opened for me.
Just a normal guy.
Yeah.
And
well, even you told me the story of, because I said, how did he even end up on The Bachelor? And he thought he was being pranked. He had a DM come through on Instagram, and you pick it up there.
Yeah, DM come through on Instagram. He thought one of his sisters had
played a prank
on him. And he had a good friend that was a Bachelor person that Joey lived in Nashville for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a friend who was a golf buddy of his. And he knew the Bachelor world. And he called and said, I got this phone call. Can you tell me if this is real?
Yeah.
And Jason said, well, let me check. And so he checked and he's like, yeah, that's real.
They actually want you to audition for the show. Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's so neat. So I'm glad it wasn't a prank.
It was not a prank.
What do you remember about him calling you and saying that he was going to be, or how did you find out?
I think he called his sisters first. His sisters are really his confidants.
Yeah.
And he called his sisters first and he wanted to make sure that it was real. And then he called me when he said, Mom, I think I'm going on this show. And I said, well, what about your job? Of course, that's what I think.
He's being practical.
Yeah, what happens with your job?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, they're fine with it. And why not? I'm 20. At the point he was 27, almost 28. Said, go travel the world, meet people. I'm ready to meet someone and settle down, so
why not? Yeah. Did you have any hesitations of, I mean, obviously it's fun and all the attention, but there's also downsides to being in the public eye and some of the publicity, or you just were like, go for it?
Just go for it. I mean,
I love that.
Never ever did we think that the Joey Mania was going to happen. We just didn't know that was going to be the case. And it just happened like that.
So what is it like to be the mom and you're watching? Okay, this is when he's the Bachelor. Of course, he was on charity season. You had to watch him have his heart broken. I mean, that had to be so hard. But I want to go to when Joey was the actual Bachelor, and it's the night where all the women are getting out of the limousine. Are you watching those women and thinking, one of these could possibly be my future daughter-in-law?
Well, at that point, remember, it's all taped. So
we
already knew. We already knew how, we'd already met the final two women at that point. We already knew how
I
it
forgot.
ended.
By the time it's televised.
So by the time it's televised. The bigger thing was, at the very beginning, they do Meet the Family.
Uh-huh.
And so we had Meet the Family. They did a kind of meet and greet at a local Italian bakery. And they put it out there, Joey the Bachelor, come and meet. So all of Joey's friends' parents came. Some of Joey's high school buddies came. So I saw a lot of people I had not seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And they said maybe 100, 200 people. We're going to have to get them to sign disclosure forms, etc. Over 500 people showed up.
Are you serious?
It was a madhouse.
Wow.
The police had to come and be able to clear the roads. And for the first time, I saw the reality that my son is like,
beyond popular.
Yeah. It's a mania.
Yeah, this is going to be a thing.
It's really big.
Have you been with him since all this began, somewhere in public, and seen all the eyes and like what it means now for him to like try to, I don't know. I think it would be hard at this point to, go grab food at the local Mexican restaurant.
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's kind of.
I haven't because I don't live close to him.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I've heard of experiences where
For sure.
My siblings were with Joey at a golf course, and one of the girls coming around in the little golf cart said, "Is that Joey?" and like, yeah, that is. And can we get a picture? And then the next day, he was playing golf again, and it was more than one girl on the golf course.
Oh.
Then she brought all of her friends, and there was a whole bunch of people. So I think for him, it's been interesting that. And then he has his fiance, and together the two of them.
I can't imagine. Yeah. First of all, they're stunning. There's no way your eyes would not go to them if they walked into the local coffee shop, right?
Right.
But then, the Joey mania turned into Joey and Kelsey mania for sure. So, so much fun to watch. There was one sign that you had when Joey was a little boy, though, that he may end up being this popular, he could have been destined to be on The Bachelor. Tell me that story about being on vacation when he was little.
We were on vacation with my three young children, and it was a Club Med, whatever. The kids were in kids camp, and moms were just being moms, enjoying having some quiet time and not having kids running around. At the end, they did a big show, and they handed out certificates. And my oldest daughter got most photogenic. She's stunningly gorgeous herself. And my son got a certificate that said, he was 6 years old at the time, and it said, "Future Heartbreaker." And I think it was his eyes. People have always commented on Joey's eyes. And his personality, for sure.
Yeah. And that pretty smile, and those curls. It's the combo. I'm part of Joey Mania, so, it's such a sweet story. It's just really fun. Of course, we talk to moms of entertainers and athletes and all the things, and it's so cool to hear these perspectives. And so to get to talk to you, when you and I first connected, this was early on, Bachelor was still just airing and all of the things. And so now we've become friends, and I'll text you and say, "Oh, Joey did so good tonight," or, whatever it may be. So that's been so fun. But I just love that fresh perspective of this is all still new, and like getting used to the fact that all eyes are on your kid. That is something else.
Yeah, it's new for him, for sure. Yeah. I think he has, and it's also new because of the world we live in today. The social media is just enormous and such a big part of his life.
Oh, yeah. Even if you think about if he was having this experience 10 years ago, it would not be the same now because of the impact of social media and the way people can comment and put their own things out there and share this and that, good or bad, all of the
everyone
things.
Has an opinion.
Oh, yeah. You guys have been so, I think Joey's just done a really good job of talking about his family and letting people know, like the parts of y'all's story that shaped him to be who he is, but also having somewhat of a banner of privacy, which I think is so important. But you guys are definitely a non-traditional family. I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
We are.
And we should definitely pause and say, Joey's not your only kid. You mentioned his sisters, but Joey is in the middle of two. And of course we saw, for those of us who watch the show, how tight those bonds are, and that is so special. But he has an older sister, Carly, and a younger sister, Ellie, right? Yeah, so actually mom of three.
Mom of three, yeah. Carly is 2.5 years older. Ellie is only 18 months younger. So he's got an older sister and a younger sister who have very much shaped who Joey is, I believe.
He had a lot of female voices speaking into him growing up. Yeah, for sure. I love hearing from those of you who have tried and love the Coat Defense Daily Preventative Powder that we use on Tucker, our golden retriever. There is nothing like this product in the stores, and let me tell you, it works. It truly is a game changer when it comes to keeping his coat clean and fresh. This powder acts as a dry shampoo on Tucker, and it repels dirt and eliminates odor. He stays cleaner and fresher, and I'm a happier dog mom thanks to Coat Defense. Try it out and let me know what you think. You can visit coatdefense.com and receive 15% off your purchase with the code MOMMA15. So tell me about you. You were married, you had 3 children, and working in an executive role. You had a really cool job. Tell me about that.
Yep. I was born in Green Bay, grew up in Wisconsin, so I'm a Wisconsinite, true and true. And when I graduated, I went into a career in retail management, and I worked for Macy's, and I started in Kansas City. Then I went to Atlanta, where I was a buyer for Macy's. And then I went to Storeline, and they transferred me down to South Florida. So I was a store manager of a very large store in South Florida, and then was recruited to be the store manager of Bloomingdale's in Boca Raton.
Oh, wow.
And so I was a VP store manager, very big job. And in that process, I married my husband. We had 3 children, so I was a very crazy, busy executive.
You were juggling a lot.
I was juggling a lot.
Yeah,
busy,
yeah.
busy,
At the time,
busy,
you're kind of the main breadwinner too,
yes,
right?
yes.
Like with the kids and,
Yeah.
and all of that. And I cannot remember, but I do believe that you were, I think the kids were around maybe 7, 4, 3, something like that, but you received a diagnosis, totally unexpected, as a young mother. I mean, you were in your 30s.
Yep, I was 38. My youngest daughter was 2 years old, and I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Wow. And I think it's amazing because meeting you in person, I was like, oh my goodness, I would have never known. You have slight slurred speech, but it's not something that I think I'm sure you're self-conscious about it, but I don't think it's something that, stands out when I hear you. But that is, praise the Lord, one of the few symptoms, other than what, some balance issues these days?
Yeah, I mean, for 25 years, pretty much, I did not have symptoms. It was scary because it had the potential to put me in a wheelchair.
Right.
And I had 3 young children, and that was a scary time in our lives. I had this big job, 3 young children, and I was just diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Did you even know much about it when you received the diagnosis?
Never heard of it.
Really?
Never heard of it.
Wow.
And it was before phones, so I had no ability to Google it. And
you didn't just pick up the cell phone and Google it. Yeah.
Understand what it was.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, it was a scary time, and my husband Nick, father of my 3 children,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided that probably the best thing, because stress was clearly a factor for me,
Right.
was to not potentially have me end up in a wheelchair, and for me to pull back and quit my job,
Mm-hmm.
downsize from the big house. And so we made a huge lifestyle change.
Yeah, you stepped back from your executive role.
Yes.
Really were parenting the kids, went to a smaller house for financial reasons and to
Right.
try to because you were really trying to predict for the future, right? Like,
exactly.
let's be prepared and
Right.
let's be ready.
Right. We downsized, we have life. I'm home now raising 3 young children,
Right.
which was a blessing in so many ways that I was now able to be home. And I found myself with a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, single mom with a incurable disease.
Here you are trying to reduce the stressors in your
Right,
life, and
right.
then now you're facing, potential divorce. What I respect is knowing your story and looking back at the way that you guys decided, no matter what these circumstances
Right.
are, we're not going to let them affect our kids.
Right.
And all of your kids have been outspoken about, of course, people were very interested in that fact when Joey decided that he would share it publicly, that his dad had come out as gay when he was in kindergarten. But he gives you guys so much props for how you handled it. And I think that there's nothing more important as a mom than putting your kids first.
Right.
And it sounds like you guys did that beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, all my children have the beauty of it. Not beauty, there's no beauty in it, but I remember when I have now since remarried, and when I was about to marry my second husband, my youngest daughter came up to me and said, "Mom, you can't marry Michael. You and Dad are still married." I said, "Honey, no, we're not. We're divorced." But the police never came. I mean, so they never had a negative situation. They never saw fighting. They never saw yelling. They never saw that 2 parents didn't love each other, which we still to this day do. I love Nick very much. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. He's a wonderful father to my 3 children. Mm-hmm. So they have always seen that we cared for each other, we respected each other, and we prioritized the children first and foremost.
Yeah. I just think that's, we talk a lot on this podcast about the wisdom that mothers can share and all of that, but what a wonderful thing
Right.
to put the kids first, and for your kids to be able to say, wait a minute, you're not still, they didn't even know,
Right.
you know, because you guys managed to get along
Right.
and figure it out. Even so that when you moved to Pennsylvania later on, a few years later,
Yeah.
when Nick would visit the kids, he would stay with you guys, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
He entered into our world, our home. He went to the kids' soccer games, and he just was part of their world.
Yeah.
But he stayed at my husband and I house at our house, and he was part of our world.
Yeah.
And that was.
And you did that because it was the best thing for the
It
kids.
was the best thing for the kids.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Your daughter actually posted something. You want to read part of that? I think that what she said was beautiful. Is this Carly or Ellie?
It was Carly.
Carly.
It was Carly.
Posted about her parents, and I mean, I think it speaks very highly of you. You don't have to read it, but if you wanted to read a part of it, I thought that would be special.
Well, I mean, I can just pretty much tell you what she said. She said, the question came up on social media to Carly, why are you and your siblings so close? What is it that, because this woman was asking, I think because she wanted to know, how do I raise my children? So ultimately, that's what, as a parent, that's what you want, is you want to have a sibling relationship.
Absolutely.
That is very strong. And so she was asking, what is it? What's unique? And Carly's response was, growing up with divorced parents, we were each other's constant. And she said our parents co-parented well, and they gave us a foundation, a foundation of a stability of a family that they had with me, and they had the knowledge of Nick's community.
Right.
And, ultimately, she said, we were just taught to be kind to everyone.
Yeah. You did a good job, Mama. Sometimes we just need to hear that, though, Let's get back to the fun stuff. You want to?
Sure.
Okay, so one of the things, when we went to lunch this week, it was so fun to get to talk about, some of the behind the scenes. I'm like, oh my goodness, what happened when, Joey walked in with Daisy, who we'd fallen in love with, and Kelsey, who we'd fallen in love with. He tells you, he walks in the room and he says, you're going to love both of these girls. And he wasn't wrong, was he?
No, he wasn't wrong. They were both wonderful.
Yeah. But there was this little something in his voice about Kelsey.
Yeah. Well, I think all of us, myself and my daughters specifically, we knew that he had stronger feelings for Kelsey.
Yeah. What was it about? Was he more gushy, or what was it about when he would talk about her?
You could just see physically that he sat closer to her. Just intuitively know that this relationship meant a lot to him. And it was very important for him to introduce both of these women to his family, but it was important for his family to like the one that he already knew at that point who he was going to choose.
Yeah.
He wasn't coming to get our advice. He wasn't coming to get us to put the stamp of approval on it.
Right.
He really just he wanted to know, was there any red flag that I haven't seen that maybe you pick up on?
Yeah. And there wasn't.
There wouldn't have been for either one of them.
Yeah.
But there wasn't. Clearly wasn't for Kelsey.
Well, and obviously I think, again, it speaks highly to Joey's character that he chose just two of the sweetest, kindest people, in the end. And so then you guys end up at, what do you call the one after? It's not the final rose. It's the after the one that you're in the audience for, the live.
Right.
I don't know what that part of the show is called.
Yeah, the after the final rose.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, where the parents and the family are all in the audience. And your face, oh my goodness, what was that like to watch that? Because you had not seen how it all went down.
I didn't know what the surprise ending was.
Yes.
I knew who he ended up with.
Yeah.
I saw on TV that he was crying all the time. I mean, just that he was very emotional.
Yeah.
And what was he emotional about? And I did not know that Daisy that they rode together, and that Daisy was the one that came and said, I know who you're picking. Because Joey did not make it a secret.
Right.
But of course, the way it's all edited and everything, it had us on the edge of our...
That's right.
It's part of it, right?
It's part of the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, from what I understand, was that it was the girls were picking up in the show that it was Kelsey.
Yeah.
Because Joey kind of already knew that that's what it was.
But all the spoilers out there convinced us that it was Daisy.
And so then they had to tell Joey, you need to like back off from paying attention to her. And so he had to do that. He had to like really be very careful about how much time or attention he was devoting to Kelsey.
Right.
And then Kelsey, because at this point she hasn't been picked, she felt like, well, what did I do wrong? Why is he not paying attention to me anymore?
Yeah.
But he had to, for the show to go on.
Yeah. What do you see when you see them together? Is it just happiness, joy, like...
They're different personalities. Joey's a very laid-back personality.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelsey is very high energy. She wears her heart on her sleeve.
Do they balance each other a little bit?
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
And I think Joey has talked about this. I think what happens now with Dancing with the Stars, he is just rehearsing all day long.
That schedule's grueling, isn't it?
Yeah, that's grueling.
Yeah.
And he would probably like to just come home, chill, and then go to sleep.
Yeah.
But Kelsey has been by herself all day
waiting
long.
on him to get home.
Waiting for him to get home.
She's like, let's go.
And let's go out. And so he has to like balance that.
Yeah.
But she brings that out in him, where I think he would tend to just be more of a homebody.
Yeah.
And
well, I see that with Connor and Leah,
Yeah.
my son and his new bride. And, he's on the road all the time. And then when he does get home, he might be home for a couple of days before he's back out on the road. They're trying to figure that out. And it's just like, let's go and let, all the
Right.
things. And he's just wiped.
Right.
So that I definitely know that I could relate to that.
And I think their personalities are also very similar to Carly, my oldest daughter, and her husband.
Uh-huh.
So Carly is the more, like Joey, more of the homebody, and Zach is more of the one who's always on the go.
Yeah, let's go.
And so they really look to emulate that relationship. That has turned into a wonderful friendship. So besides the sibling relationship, I think that they also have the other relationship with his sister and brother.
That's fun. Has it been fun for you to see how much Ellie and Carly have enjoyed this whole ride? And
Well,
they're so proud of him.
They were Bachelor fans with me, so that we all have.
I didn't know that till today that you were like hardcore watched every Bachelor series, and then to see your son on it. I mean, that is kind of crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Carly probably has gotten more involved with the social media aspect of it. Ellie is a little bit more private.
Mm-hmm.
But, they're two very different relationships that Joey has with his two sisters, and they're both very special.
Yeah.
And, here's an interesting thought of Ellie. She told me a story one time of how she was maybe in an airport, and random stranger woman came up to her and said, I hope someday my daughter has a boyfriend or husband like you have. He is so wonderful. I'm just so impressed with the way he is. And she was going to say, that's my brother.
Oh, no.
and she's like, oh, that's your brother? Your brother treats you like that?
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
That's really neat. What? Let's shift a little bit to Dancing with the Stars. Okay, so do you pop a bowl of popcorn and just sit on the couch and be like, okay, it's coming on? Like, do you get excited every day when or the day that the show's going to air?
Well, it's different than The Bachelorette, which I already knew. It was all filmed. I already knew the result. I do not. This is live TV.
So, are you more nervous watching Dancing with the Stars?
Not so much nervous. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect him to be a good dancer.
Oh my goodness.
And when the first dance came out, I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's how I felt watching him. Yeah.
He can dance.
Yeah. Of course I was like, of course he can. Like, I'm like, goodness, he's like, kind of conquering every challenge put, in front of him. But I mean, he wasn't just like, oh, he'll make it a few weeks. He was good, like could win it good.
Right.
Yeah. Do you feel that way too?
I do. I felt it, but the one that we just saw, which was the hard metal one.
Yeah.
When he played the drums, and that was Joey playing, and he did great. But he looked like the professional. He did.
Didn't they even say that? You can hardly tell,
Right.
like, the difference between?
And so I remember sitting there watching it and saying, he's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
He couldn't make it to the end. He could win this whole thing, which was surprised. Didn't expect that would be the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's so exciting. And you're going to be going out there soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll be getting to see, I think it's Disney night, right?
Probably.
All the different themes. What has been your favorite dance so far?
Well, right now it's the last one he did because he was effortless.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised by that one. But I loved the first one. The first one, the country one, the first one, he showed his personality.
Yeah.
And he was first. He was the very first one to
That's
go.
not the straw you want to draw, right?
Exactly. I would not think.
Yeah.
And obviously they know that America loves him because now the last one, he was last.
Right. Yeah, that's so interesting too, the way that all of that works and the behind the scenes. That's going to be so fun. I'm excited for you. So if he wins Dancing with the Stars, I mean, can you imagine what your reaction will be?
I'm just proud of him. I'm just really proud of him. Really, because he's just stayed so true to himself.
Mm.
He's no different than, and he's like that from what I understand. He's like that when he's out in public. He loves to take pictures with people. He's just Joey. It's just Joey.
And appreciative of all the doors that are opening for him.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the whole just Joey thing is really telling. And it's true. Like just Joey, I think that's what you see. But because just Joey is so charming and adorable and all the things, he's just
captured
whatever
the heart.
he does.
To me, it's exciting because America has been able to see who my son is.
Yeah.
And for America to fall in love with him, and to go through the Bachelor, and at the end of that to have nothing bad to say, and for all the women to still be in love with him, still love their time with him,
right,
has been great.
Yeah,
and
it's rare to come off the show and people not like the girls you didn't pick not to have kind of negative things about you or the process,
right.
But
it's weird for social media.
Yeah.
To fall in love with him too. So many of the social media outlets have said it's just amazing to watch.
He's just such a likable guy.
Just a great guy.
Which is interesting because typically I would ask a mom in your position, what's it like to see the negative comments? But you really haven't had to deal with that.
I haven't.
Which is very unusual for someone who has a kid in the public eye.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, again, good job, Momma. He's awesome.
I mean, I'm proud of him. I think he just has really shown his character.
Yeah.
And he's just Joey being Joey, and I'm glad America has had the opportunity to fall in love with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to end with this, but I have to ask you, what did Joey get from his mama?
Well, first and foremost, he got his love for the Green Bay Packers.
He does love the Green Bay Packers, so that came because his mom had grown up there, right?
Right. As I've heard Joey say, in Wisconsin, all they have is cheese and the Packers.
Yeah.
So, but whatever. He has the love for the Green Bay Packers, so I love that. And I would say, for all my children, I think that they have learned how to love unconditionally.
Mm.
They were loved unconditionally, but I think they've learned how to love unconditionally. Mm. And they've learned how to love in a truly non-traditional family.
And again, you modeled that in still showing love in a situation that you could have been very bitter about. And you put love and the kids and all the things that matter ahead of that. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. Yes. Well, I've loved getting to talk to you today. And you're just delightful. I love our friendship. I mean, we really have developed a friendship that I know will continue. And I'm going to be texting you after that, these next dances. And when he wins the mirror ball,
right.
I may call you. instead of a text.
Okay. Well, I know you're a Riley fan.
Oh, yeah. We've
and a
had Riley's
Steven
mom on. We've had Stephen Netarosic's mom on. Yeah.
Right.
So now I just need to make my way through the cast, right?
Right.
Well, thank you. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank
And just
you.
continued just blessings upon your journey, your health. I mean, you're doing amazing
Thank you.
and all of the things. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, now that we've shared dozens of episodes, surely we're friends, right? Well, I have a favor to ask. Would you take a minute to leave a 5-star rating and a review on whatever app you're using to listen to the podcast? This helps so much with reaching a wider audience. We'd also love for you to subscribe to our Insider newsletter and, of course, follow us on social media and on YouTube at Got It From My Momma. That's right, you can watch any of these episodes on YouTube. Visit our website, gotitfrommymommapodcast.tv, and you can get links to all of these things. I'm so thankful you're along for the journey.